It doesn't take a rocket surgeon to figure out Amazon KDP hates your low content books. And before you get all turned up to 11 and fuming like crazy, you might want to hear me out on this because I've been publishing low content books since 2016. Though I don't flex paychecks in my videos like some video creators, I can comfortably say I made more than a significant living from low content books over the years. Yet, I have a few problems and solutions for you to consider. If you want to see these changes made, let your voice be heard in the comments. What are some of your biggest gripes with publishing low content books through KDP? Believe it or not, some of the folks at KDP do watch these videos, and I'm sure they'll be taking a skim through the comments. Let's hear from you. Hey, by the way, the sponsors of this video, BookBolt, can help with some issues. I'll chat more about BookBolt later on. Slower processing time. In the early days of low content publishing, account holders weren't uploading thousands per day, yet some genius decided to ruin it for all of us and flood the market with crappy low content books. Naturally, more raw sewage forced onto the market means more time it takes for the KDP team to manage the workload. Eventually, slower distribution review and approval times took over, and ever since, the system has been clogged up and at times unpredictably slow. And some folks have waited for weeks at a time for approval of their low content books, while the standard approval time is assured at 24 to 72 hours after submitting your book. My recommendation? Allow KDP time to define what low content books means to their platform. Hopefully they build a focus team to address low content books and build out this part of KDP as a separate entity from the literature they were built for. Throttled uploads. Now, prior to any acknowledgement, KDP kind of got a little irritated because a few clowns created and abused auto creation and uploading software for low content books. KDP finally put their foot down a few years ago when they limited the number of uploads. But they only told people when they exceeded that amount, meaning there really wasn't a maximum upload threshold in place or something that was listed somewhere that I could find. Now, KDP didn't really set out to offer a platform for low content books here, folks, when they started. It really was just started out as an ebook distribution platform. So they didn't think it would be possible for any small business owners to publish over 1,000 publications in a day. But it happened. And so they pretty much said,
no more. It's limited now.
Sadly, I can't recall the number at this point, but feel free to drop a line to KDP support through the Contact Us feature inside your dashboard. I'm sure they'll have an exact number. Just make sure you track all conversations via email so you don't forget, like me. I can safely say I never uploaded that many low content books in a day. That's sacrificing quality to get quantity. Be efficient with your upload process, not reckless. No categories for low content books. Yep, even though a blank book with a unicorn hardly qualifies for being a fantasy literature book, it still gets sorted into it. Why? Well, Amazon probably needs to build the infrastructure to support this uniquely different product SKU. KDP needs to encourage Amazon to allow access to other product categories for low content books, or make brand new browse paths to support this niche. Right now, I can't imagine it's helping customers much when they search for a young adult fantasy book only to find a lined unicorn journal. Hardly the ideal customer experience, am I right? No acknowledgement of low content books. I started in 2016 publishing what we called no content books at the time. Those consisted primarily of blank books like diaries, journals, planners, and blank books, as you would imagine. I always liken it back then to Fight Club, because the first rule of low content books was you don't talk about low content books. The second rule is, well, you get it. The reason why we didn't talk about it much was no one was sure if it was a loophole. Back then, CreateSpace was the print-on-demand distribution for low-content books to Amazon. We rarely ever got pushback for low-content books. When questioned, we explained the purpose of it, and surprisingly, they'd push it through, offering no real friction in the process. And for years, KDP remained quiet outside of customer support reps assisting account holders with low-content books. We didn't get a single peep about their stance on this product. Now, May 2022, they finally acknowledged low content books. And while they don't consider activity books, puzzle books, or coloring books as low content, the rest seems to be fair game, not without some limitations though. No expanded distribution for low content books. Hey, remember that time when I speculated how a policy change at Ingram Spark would have an effect on all of self-publishing? If not, and you're new here, which I'm obligated to say according to YouTube bylaw 4.20.69, subscribe so you can see more of my pretty face and deeper insights of the self-publishing business. Now, just to recap about Ingram Spark and how they served as a huge deterrent in self-publishing low-content books. Early March 2020, Ingram Spark announced they were no longer accepting blank books or lined notebooks. The content in a book must be at least 90% written content. Though they eventually loosened their guidelines a little bit, but it's still pretty strict. Well, to most self-publishers, this wasn't a big deal. However, Ingram Spark is owned by parent company Ingram Content Group, who also run and own another print-on-demand company called Lightning Source. And what you may not know is Ingram Spark founder Robin Cutler shared in an interview on this channel how Lightning Source fulfills distribution for KDP's expanded distribution option. While I don't have any real insights into the inner workings of Ingram Spark, I theorized this change most likely traces back to parent company Ingram Content Group and would soon be passed on to expanded distribution. And while some of these overnight low-content millionaires would have you believe expanded distribution wasn't anything to sweat, we were pulling in about a quarter of our sales through expanded distribution for low-content books. The graph always exploded at the end of the month when earnings deposited from that avenue. Not anymore. It was fun while it lasted. If you want to distribute low-content books through Ingram, go right to Ingram Spark. They evaluate what they'll distribute on a case-by-case basis. I've heard some activity books, workbooks, and low-content books with substance tend to get approval for distribution. No duplicate interiors for low-content books. Over the past few years, I've seen and heard of numerous accounts getting suspended and often terminated for using duplicate interiors. It's rough, considering how do you change up a lined journal? Other forms of low-content books with the same text or content makes complete sense, but they haven't really addressed their stance on duplicate interiors. This information is only coming through terminated account holders, and even they're getting little insights and reasoning from KDP. If you want to mitigate the chances of account termination, bury your interiors and book covers. Make each of your low-content books unique, and not just small variations or deviations from one title to the next. It's easier than you know, especially if you have no design chops or tech skills. For instance, the new BookBolt Studio allows you to create low-content books from the inside out, whether you want to do it yourself and create your own interior, or choose from a wide array of fully customizable templates. BookBolt has something for every self-publisher. You can choose from a deep pool of royalty-free images, select or upload any font you prefer, add any number of templates and change it up with unique visual elements, or apply textures through elemental masks, and so much more. Heck, even if you aren't publishing low-content books, having access to the Cover Creator tool makes life easier. No more having to figure out GIMP, and you can forget about paying over $20 per month for the privilege to use Photoshop. The catch? Well, unlike Photoshop and any other cover design tool out there, BookBolt's team runs weekly live broadcasts showcasing all the tools in their arsenal and answering questions for all their account holders. You won't be seeing Adobe doing that now, will you? Get 20% off access to BookBolt today when you use the code DALE20 through our affiliate link at dalelinks.com/bookbolt. And while you can use BookBolt for many uses, they won't be able to help you out with this next issue. No free assigned ISBNs for low-content books. KDP provides all print books with an International Standard Book Number, also known as an ISBN. It's a unique identifier intended for literature, usually. Yet the only way you could publish most low-content books was to use the free assigned ISBN. The only way you could legitimately get an ISBN was if you have some literature to justify the identifier. After all, notebooks are classified different from literature. But now the lines are blurred because if you wanted to get your low-content book on Amazon, you needed to use your ISBN or bring your own. Either way, you needed an ISBN. Not now. Soon after acknowledging low-content books, Amazon added an option to mark your book as a low-content book. Then you could publish without having to waste an ISBN. Let's face it though, Jeff Bezos was probably more than happy to shell out $1.50 per ISBN for literature, but it made 0 sense to waste that money on books that didn't need the identifier. So they cut the need for it and allowed low-content book publishers unmitigated access to their platform. But with good news comes the bad. No look inside for low content books. Without an ISBN, your low content book loses the look inside feature. Now, a ton of people freak the hell out because without customers having the ability to see the interior, it was kind of tough to convince them to buy it. But this is a simple fix here, folks. A+ content. You're allowed to add a From the Publisher section where you can showcase images of your interiors. And the sweet thing is, if you use any module with image and text, you're indexing your content even more than without. Meaning, if you insert relevant keywords in your text, you make your product more discoverable on the platform. That's all covered in the Amazon Advertising Certification courses, which I highly recommend you check out. And speaking of recommendation, go check out the 10 best low-content book publishing companies out there. That way you have some options. I'll see you there.